The latest news is that Mr. Medvedev stated, there are countries willing to directly transfer nuclear weapons to Iran. What scenarios could unfold if Iran acquires nuclear weapons? Nuclear deterrence scenario, less likely but possible. Deterrence doctrine. Iran might adopt a deterrence doctrine, declaring that nuclear weapons are solely for defense and will never be used for offense. This could maintain a state of cold peace, similar to the Cold War era among nuclear powers. Increased diplomacy. International pressure could significantly increase to establish communication channels and risk reduction mechanisms between Iran and its adversaries to avoid unintended escalation. However, this requires a great deal of mutual trust, which is currently lacking. Shift in Iran's domestic policy. Nuclear weapon ownership could lead to a shift in Iran's domestic policy, potentially making the government more confident in focusing on economic development or social issues rather than military adventures. However, this is a difficult possibility to predict. Increased regional instability scenario, not necessarily direct nuclear conflict. Increased Iranian confidence and aggression. With a nuclear umbrella, Iran could become more confident in pursuing aggressive regional policies, supporting proxy forces like Hezbollah, Houthis, more strongly, and intervening deeper in conflicts in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. This would increase instability and conventional conflicts in the region. Challenge to U.S. power. A nuclear-armed Iran could weaken U.S. influence in the region, making U.S. allies in the Middle East feel less protected and forcing them to reconsider their alliances. Political and economic crisis. Even without a nuclear conflict, the presence of nuclear weapons in Iran would trigger a major political and economic crisis. International sanctions could be intensified, isolating Iran and causing global economic instability due to impacts on oil prices and other markets. Nuclear proliferation. Iran's acquisition of nuclear weapons could encourage other nations, especially those with poor relations with the West, to seek their own nuclear programs, thereby undermining the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, and accelerating global nuclear proliferation. Worst-case scenario. Regional or global nuclear conflict, regional nuclear arms race. Iran's possession of nuclear weapons would undoubtedly prompt rival nations in the region, particularly Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and even Egypt, to seek to develop or acquire nuclear weapons for self-defense. This would create a dangerous nuclear arms race, significantly increasing the risk of nuclear weapon use due to miscalculation or escalating tensions. Direct conflict with Israel. Israel views Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat. If Iran acquires nuclear weapons, the likelihood of Israel launching a preemptive or retaliatory strike with its own nuclear weapons would significantly increase. This could lead to a regional nuclear war with devastating consequences for millions. Escalation to global conflict. Any regional nuclear conflict has the potential to draw major powers like the US, Russia, and China into the fray, leading to a global nuclear war with unimaginable consequences. Used by non-state actors. Another risk is that nuclear weapons could fall into the hands of terrorist or non-state groups through theft, illicit sale, or deliberate provision by Iran. This would usher in a new era of global nuclear terrorism threats. In summary, Iran acquiring nuclear weapons is an extremely dangerous scenario that could lead to catastrophic consequences for the Middle East and the entire world. Regardless of the specific scenario, it would necessitate a significant shift in how major powers deal with Iran and would spark intense debates about nuclear security and proliferation. Mr. Medvedev's concerns are entirely valid and should be taken seriously.